Alright, I'm going to demo some head drawing principles and just kind of cover the basics of what we're going to be doing. So this is your standard head Layin, and is based on these two shapes, and just kind of together, just getting cover put together the basics of what we're going to be doing. So we want, this is your standard head Layin. We want to have a sphere and a little half cylinder mask shape combining here. So this is our sphere right in here, and this is a little half cylinder shape. I'm going to take off like a little slice of these, like a knife just kind of came right down through here and cut it off. And what that's going to do is it's going to give us the overall shape for the head mass, like you can see over here. The proportions that you learned yesterday will still apply on this, and this just lets you draw the head from a front angle or a 3/4 or really any view, and understand what that basic construction is going to be and what makes that up, so that you don't have to necessarily be looking at a head every time you want to draw one. So we're going to start out. First step in this is to draw a sphere. So draw a sphere. I'm just going to be doing the same thing that's seen over here. So after you've drawn the sphere, I'm going to take this section off from the side. It's not the most precise thing, but it helps to get it reasonably, like you don't want to take a ton off the side. This is just a little slice. It's like, because it's not perfectly spherical on the sides, it's flattened from the temple, and this is what that's going to be for. I'm going to grab the center line as it's coming around the skull, and then kind of trim a little bit off over here, and that gets us through the, like, modifying the sphere. And how this mask part fits in is it kind of sits flush with the forehead, and this is the top of the cheekbones and going down to the chin, and over across here is where the brow ridge would be, and the center line for that happens, or this point that's centered, you can see is halfway between the base and the top of the skull. So we don't have the base yet, but we can also see that if you come straight over from the ear, which is centered back along the skull, and coming out in perspective across, that gives us about where that center line is going to be. So we're going to use where this intersects, and this line here is going to be the same as this line over here. To make it more like that side, I'm actually going to go back over and do this as a straighter line. This is going to keep coming down anyway through the brow ridge. Might even move this up a little bit. So we're going to be our brow ridge at the base. We know that it comes forward over here because this protrudes off the skull. So I'm going to say about here, start sticking out, and this is going to be the top of that shape, and it's going to be like a little cylinder all on its own, kind of sticking out. It's very thin. It can be more or less pronounced depending on the person. And so we have our new center line here for the brow ridge that is sticking out, and we're going to have our kind of lower face mask, this jaw shape, coming forward. So I'm going to keep going straight down. I want to be thinking of how far this is all sticking out, and I want it to be about halfway. So I'm pretty happy with this distance here. And then this is going to be the chin. And on this side, you get basically a straight line down from the cheekbone, where it kind of wraps around this whole thing. And over here, that shape you can see extending cheekbone all the way back to the ear. And that is just a way of simplifying this shape. You don't really have any bone or muscle that runs straight there, but that gets kind of the side plane of the jaw. And here is the other part of that side plane, and this will vary kind of person to person too. But it's a good kind of starting point. And the ear is going to be about that size. It'll be halfway from, or it'll be from the nose, base of the nose to the base of the eye, or base of the eyes, which are going to sit in here. It's kind of how we make a place for the eyes to fit in. If you look over here, you can see more of how the skull would work. If this was the skull, this side plane here would all be one plane, and you can see that this brow ridge would be turning more. And this would be where your eye sockets fit into. And they're not super huge, but this will be where an eyeball would go. Fit in there. Little pupil, eyelid covering it, because the eye socket is bigger than the part of the eye that we see. And you have the opposite socket over here. Fit in both sides of the jaw, or both sides of the jaw, both sides of the eye. This sticks back out a little more, and you get the cavity, or the nasal cavity, that the tip of your nose would then continue to come off of, and you'd have nostrils, and then have the mouth here. On the skeleton, cheekbones would come over, and it's the zygomatic arch here. And then under this would be the upper jaw. And this kind of comes out and turns down. You have teeth coming off that, and then this lower jaw is going to be kind of an L shape. It'll come down and then over and wrap around. And go back up and there, and then you'd have room for the teeth sticking up off of that, kind of shape. And the skull might come up a little high on this right now. Might say that it would be a little smaller. Maybe more like this size. And probably come in a little at the back too. That's a little extreme. So that's a little more like the proportion for a skull. But all this is taking a simple sphere. I can get one that's actually round. Close enough. You trim off here and here. This is from a front view. Like over here. gets you about 2/3 of the way down. That's where the brow ridge is going to be on that sphere. And so you have an eye in this fifth and an eye in this fifth. It's broken down into 5 planes that are about an eye width each. And this side comes over and in a little bit, and this side comes over and in a little bit. And that shape is the far edged plane. Comes in. This is our cheek, or our plane for our chin. Here are those cheekbones. Come up there again. We can darken sides in. And add on ears. Nose would sit right about here. And then about halfway to 2/3 between the nose and the chin would be our lips. Eyebrows sit on the brow ridge and kind of come in a little bit in the middle. Into the nose. Eye socket is this whole part. Zygomatic arch is coming over here from the side. It goes in and gets you that kind of skull shape that you're used to. Same thing down here, that lower jaw. And it's just coming in and building that simple anatomy. And it's sphere. My pressure died. It's the sphere you're trimming the sides off of. And it's this half cylinder that's sitting on the front of that shape. And this is what is giving the face its kind of depth to it. And this would be that eye line that the brow ridge is coming off of. Right there. And there's that chin bone, or the sides of the jaw coming in a little bit. And you put this right here on front of this shape, and they kind of combine like a Lego block to form these more in-depth shapes that are a good lay-in for a face or a skull. And you can draw them from the side, because that same proportion still applies. So over here, it's like a blockier shape, and the side plane that you're cutting off, we're seeing it a lot more from the edge now. So it's going to be coming around like this, and the edge is kind of coming around like that. Just wraps it around to get kind of the far side. And here's the angle that our brow is at. You can almost think of it like what we're looking for with this angle and this angle is how is the side plane there going to connect up to the side of this and then wrap around, and what direction is that going to be facing? So that half cylinder, like the back of it, is going to be at this angle, and the brow ridge is going to be coming along centered on the skull, and it's going to stick out kind of like that. I don't want to get it too pronounced. So that comes in and out a little bit, and that is top of our head. The bottom isn't totally straight, it curves a little bit with the arc of the face. And for construction purposes, you don't have to go too in-depth on that. You just want to show that where the brow ridge is and where things will fit into it. And then the rest of the face comes down from there. You get a little more pronounced arc coming in for the cheekbone this way, and the jawline you're seeing under it some. So that